Tribunal is doing, overturning that verdict. The highest court of the land in Bangladesh, the Appellate Tribunal of the Supreme Court, now overturned the judgment, and now Azharul Islam is walking out a free man. Let's be clear, Jamaat-e-Islami opposed Bangladesh's independence. They collaborated with the Pakistani military, aiding and abetting the genocide that one saw during the entire 1971 independence saga. In fact, as we speak, let me also tell our viewers that Islam was one of their commanders in Rangpur, viewers. And now he is no longer being called out as a butcher, but being painted as a victim, something that is very important for our viewers to understand. I'm going to come to Smriti Patnaik in just a bit, but viewers, you need to understand why this man is at the top of our show, why we are decoding him, why we are talking about him, because he is reflective of what and symptomatic of what Bangladesh is now turning out to be. Yes, in the last couple of months, Bangladesh is trying to scrub off its history of the 1971 Liberation War, which India assisted and in fact ensured that Bangladesh was created. But as we speak about Azharul Islam, let me also tell you the ruling that has come in comes as Dhaka descends into complete anarchy. Since the ouster of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in August 2024, viewers, the capital has seen daily clashes, student-led uprisings, and a judiciary that is stripped of trust. He wasn't the only one. In fact, there's another stunning twist. There was a journalist who was convicted for plotting to murder Hasina's son, who was also acquitted the very same day. So you are seeing the kind of people who are now seeing their judgments being overturned. The timing is no coincidence, viewers. The message is unthinkable. Old enemies of liberation are now back in power. With Islam's release, Bangladesh has taken a step backward by decades, not towards healing, but towards revisionism, violence, and betrayal. As far as the martyrs of 1971 are concerned, they cry for justice tonight, don't they? Because that justice that they are seeking is nowhere to be found. Smriti Patnaik, research fellow at MPIDSA, joins me to talk more on this. Smriti, what's happening with Bangladesh? Why is it that convicts are now being freed up and they're walking as free people?
Jurisdiction, appellate court of the Supreme Court had already allowed the revision petition to be filed. In spite of the fact that Supreme Court in 2019 had given a decision had given a death sentence to Azharul Islam. So when this particular thing was allowed, that he was allowed to make an appeal against the judgment, that point of time, it was very, very clear that it was a matter of time that he's going to get free. And as you already explained, that we know the situation has changed in Bangladesh. We also know that the dominant political parties, especially the Jamaat-e-Islami, which played a very significant role during the student movement, has an upper hand in this particular administration. And this verdict is significant in two aspects. First is that the Jamaat will continue to argue that all its political leaders who have already been hanged, 7 of them, actually were hanged for political reasons, and there was no proof by the government to prove that they were convicted in any kind of war crime. Second is Azharul Islam's, as you have seen, he attended a rally today with the Jamaat Amir, and where it was very clearly said that he was wrongly convicted, and therefore this second liberation, quote unquote second liberation,
convicted by international court. He is being convicted by international tribunals of hundreds of rapes, hundreds of murders. Someone who had a very deep link to play in the genocide that led to the 1971 Liberation War, didn't it? And how is it that man suddenly finds sympathizers in Yunus's regime? That's what it's looking like.
See, the international tribunal was established by Sheikh Hasina, and if you look at the manner in which some of the time the witnesses were collected, so it was made controversial over the period of time.
Smriti, you're almost sounding like it was a political decision. Is that what you're sounding it like? That it was a political decision under Sheikh Hasina?
But my question is that 2019, when he got the death sentence, why his death sentence was not implemented by Sheikh Hasina, and why in 2025 he was allowed to file an appeal? There is, at least 5 years for Hasina to implement the verdict of the Supreme Court. Why it was not done? Why it was left? I have not been able to understand that.
So what you're saying is that there were political reasons why Azrul Islam he wasn't executed despite being given the death penalty, and despite all of that, but as any citizen of a country, you are within your rights to get the all legal avenues
Yeah.
that are available to you. So the legal avenue that was available to him was the appellate tribunal. Maybe he was waiting for that. That's part of the legal process of the country. But what I'm really trying to come back to is the fact that this is a Bangladesh where radicals are being mainstreamed. This is a Bangladesh where Islamists are now part of the political class, and you have people accused of conducting genocide, walking out as a free person. This is the new Bangladesh under Muhammad Yunus.
Yes, I agree. In fact, the kind of thing which has happened post Sheikh Hasina's removal, we have seen the Islamist political parties have been mainstreamed, especially the Jamaat Islami is playing a significant role. There was also demand for a new national anthem in Bangladesh. We have seen Sheikh Mujibur's statue was dismantled, his house was bulldozed. So many things are happening which is actually contrary to what the Liberation War stood for. Uh, we are also seeing the Constitutional Reform Commission is, has a suggestion to do away with secularism and incorporate pluralism. So there are many of the things which is happening in Bangladesh actually are certain things which will definitely concern those people who fought for the liberation, and many of them are, keeping quiet, thinking that there may be reprisal, they may be accused that they are supporter of Army League. So there is general dissatisfaction regarding the manner in which things are shaping up. I'll just give an example. Yesterday, there were certain social media posts. People who have been supportive of the student movement are clearly saying that they will never support NCP for its tacit understanding with the Islamists, especially after Izarul Islam's, after his
Okay, I'm
freedom.
going to leave it there, Smriti. Thanks for joining in. Hopefully next time you're not going to be in a car and you're going to be joining us here in the studios. All right, I'm going to shift focus now and talk more about, Russia and the Russian-Ukrainian war that continues to wage. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has proposed a new round of peace talks with Ukraine to be held in Istanbul on the 2nd of June. This follows a failed attempt earlier this month when both sides left without having any sort of a ceasefire in place. Lavrov said that Moscow expects that a formal response from Kiev and stressed that Russia is prepared to discuss all points of a potential ceasefire agreement. The proposal comes just days after Vladimir Putin spoke with his American counterpart Donald Trump, who has been pushing for some sort of a diplomatic resolution to try and end Europe's deadliest war that's been going on for, over the last 3 years. It's the longest since the Second World War. And there's been no official response till now as to which way it is headed. There's no official response from Ukraine yet, but Moscow has said that both sides have agreed to bring their own versions of a potential peace settlement plan to the table. Are we looking at a possibility of some sort of peace deal that could come in, or is it going to be a repeat of exactly what happened in the first round of talks, when things looked like they were progressing, only to fall flat? Rajoli Siddharth joins us from ORF. Rajoli, how do you read the fact that there is yet another attempt for peace? How much do you think it has a promise right now?
I think so that you see all talks basically for ending wars take time. For instance, even if you look at the Vietnam conflict, the talks began in 1969, 1968, and in the war, US finally left in 1973. So I think talks do take time, and even though the negotiations failed on May 15th, I don't think that the June 2 negotiations will be substantial in any way, even though they say that there's going to be a substantial discussion and both are going to exchange memorandums. I think that potentially bringing an end to this war will take some more time, and the negotiations, as there is a fundamental dissonance uh, in their own demands. So it's going to take time for both sides to come to an agreement. So I think that it's just going to be another round of discussions where both sides are going to reiterate their demands, and that's pretty much it.
Prajoli, hopefully we'll be able to speak on the 2nd of June with some sort of possibility of a peace deal. All right, on that note, viewers, we're going to slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side with lots more news, including whether or not the chip war that US unleashed on China, has it had any of the desired consequences. Stay with us.
For such gentle souls, working donkeys in the Middle East lead terribly hard lives. For such trusting animals, donkeys are too often abused and exploited. These sensitive, loyal animals often suffer the cruelest pain. This is the hard, painful life that donkeys in Egypt, the West Bank, Israel, and Gaza have to endure. Too often, it's not only a hard life, it is also a short one. But there is something you can do to make their hard lives much easier. Please call Safe Haven for Donkeys on 0800 144 5802 or go online and give a life-saving gift of just £2 a month. Safe Haven for Donkeys is dedicated to transforming lives in the region. Your gift means our mobile vet clinics can provide emergency treatment for injured donkeys. We heal wounds and ensure donkeys aren't suffering. We also work with local communities, helping them to look after and cherish their donkeys. You'll help make sure there's always a place at our sanctuaries for abandoned and abused donkeys who have nowhere else to turn. Please call 0800 144 5802, text SAFE4 to 84902, go online or scan the QR code and give just £2 a month and help change a donkey's life today.
Someone's happy. Get that lucky cow feeling with luckycowbingo.com/bingo, the site that's bursting with beautiful bingo games. 75 ball bingo, even 90 ball bingo. Fill your bingo boots today. Get that lucky cow feeling at luckycowbingo.com/bingo or download the Lucky Cow Android app from the Play Store.
When I woke up, they said, Alyssa, you've got leukemia. We found out that the chemo wasn't working. So at that point, it was like, I'm gonna die. My consultant was looking for these clinical trials, and she found this one at Great Ormond Street. I'm cancer-free now.
Curing Alyssa was a world first, but cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK. Will you help us do more? Search Gosh Care to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital, a home for breakthrough research with world-class facilities to help beat cancer for more children. Together, with your kind support, we can help save lives and transform children's cancer care for decades to come. Text CARE to 70125 to give £3 a month and help build our new children's cancer centre. Together, we can beat cancer for more children.
John from work said it's a lovely hike.
Triathlon, John.
Nice.
Right, Rosie, can I have the boots bag? No, I meant the hiking boots bag. Did we not bring it?
Such a shame.
Such a shame.
With thousands of lower prices at Boots, that's your summer sorted.
Nvidia CEO, viewers, warns that Chinese AI rivals are now formidable. The question is, are US export restrictions aiding China's rise in AI? That's the one thing that needs to be seen. because what Nvidia CEO and boss is telling is indicating that the chip war that started between the two sides is not having the desired consequences. He's saying that they are having, in fact, the opposite of their intended effect, with American companies effectively locked out of the largest market that exists, that is the Chinese market, the world's largest for chips. Nvidia now expects to lose up to $8 billion in sales this quarter alone. In fact, the company's earnings call, on that company's earnings call, CEO Hensen Huang said that Chinese tech firms are quickly stepping in to fill the gap and their AI capabilities are growing stronger rather than slowing down. China's AI development, he argued, the policies are simply pushing customers towards alternatives like Huawei. And now the big question is, as Trump doubles down on tough tech restrictions, is his policy actually helping China's AI industry gain ground? At the end of the day, the last couple of years, there's been this big chip war between US and China. Trump's predecessor, Joe Biden, also came down with heavy, significant restrictions so that China doesn't climb the AI ladder. But guess what? It seems to have done so. Ankush Sabharwal, who is the founder and CEO of Bharat Gupta AI, joins me, and I want to ask from him, Ankush, the question one asks is very simple. Whatever happened to the chip war and the restrictions that US had put in on China to ensure that it doesn't climb up the chip ladder, doesn't climb up the AI ladder? How do you see China and its AI capabilities growing? And the fact that you have Nvidia CEO pointing that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me here. So it's a macro level. It looks like the sovereign AI, the sovereignty is important for every country. I think US wants that, and probably China also wants. And see, we are in India, and India also is now very vocal, and a lot of good steps are being taken to have our own sovereign AI. As you know, MIT is focusing on having sovereign AI LLMs and the applications around it. So now this is a little bigger on the chip because most of us are dependent. Most of us here, I see when I'm talking about us, means the whole world is literally dependent on NVIDIA chips. And yes, I think there can be maybe some ego clashes, or maybe for the self and national interests. Considering those, I think those export bans are happening. But I think we in India should also take the lesson. It can happen any moment to us. And instead of just being, besides being focusing on LLMs, we should also now have our own sovereign AI chips. I know Ministry of IT is working on it, but I think there should be equal enthusiasm and initiative by the industries to work on chips. Now, yes, we are dependent very heavily on NVIDIA chips, which is good. So far, no kind of ban on us. We have a good number of chips in India, but a lot more in demand. We need to have both the things in our mind to keep importing and also keep working on our own sovereign AI chips.
All right, let's leave it there, Ankush. Thanks much for joining us with that perspective. I'm now turning focus to the other big story that we are tracking, which is Donald Trump's war on Harvard. Let's now take a look at that big story, which is, well, at the end of the day, hundreds and thousands of students' lives, careers, futures are all at stake, and there is absolutely no clarity on what will be the next steps as far as the Trump versus Harvard saga is concerned. NDTV is on ground. We have Natasha Israni talking to students at the campus. Remember, the mood is somber, coinciding with graduation ceremonies, which is deeply ironical. I'm going to first play out this soundbite of Donald Trump, and then I'm going to come back and, in fact, try and play out this short discussion that Natasha had with several students on the campus. Listen in.
So why would 31%? Why would a number so big? I think, number one, I think they should have a cap of maybe around 15%, not 31%. We have people who want to go to Harvard and other schools. They can't get in because we have foreign students there. But I want to make sure that the foreign students are people that can love our country. We don't want to see shopping centers exploding. We don't want to see the kind of riots that you had.
International student visas have now been stalled, put on pause for at the moment in terms of interviews, new interviews. That was a recent announcement by the Trump administration. I'm just curious to ask Uzma, you're here, you finished your 1 year here as an international student. What has your experience been like?
Well, I think as an international student, and I'm from India, it's been really transformative. Harvard is a place where you just feel so welcomed. It is the diversity and how you just, your perspective, interacting with the, students coming from different countries. We are represented by more than 100 countries here.
Sharifa Shahai, sorry about that. Sharifa Shahai to my right, who was going to be graduating from GSAS as a graduate School of Arts and Sciences in quantitative biology. When it comes to freedom of speech, you are an American student here. Do you think that Harvard has been able to protect that freedom of speech?
I think Harvard in general is a place that you can express your opinions pretty freely. There's people from a wide variety of walks of life, countries, regions. So I think there's people here from every spectrum, and they're all welcome to voice their opinion. I think some opinions definitely have been more difficult to voice here, but I don't think that it's unwelcoming to any one group.
All right, in northern Arkansas, a massive manhunt is underway for escaped convict Grant Hardin, a former police chief serving time for murder and rape. He's nicknamed the devil in the Ozarks. In fact, Hardin slipped out of a medium security prison and he's disguised in a fake law enforcement uniform. Authorities admit that there was a lapse in protocol that allowed him to walk free. Search teams are now combing the entire region, rugged terrain, caves, abandoned structures in one of the state's most cavernous regions. Locals have said that Hardin is smart and resourceful and, well, he knows the area very well. FBI and state police have joined the hunt to capture the fugitive who was once a police chief and is now on the run. And finally, they say actions speak louder than words, unless you're on Wall Street, where words move markets and tweets tilt portfolios. In the latest twist of the tariff tango, investors are coining a new term, Taco Trump, always chickening out. It's a spicy new acronym sizzling through trading desks, served up with a side of skepticism and extra chili sauce. Well, when asked about it, President Trump called it the nastiest question, insisting his tariff threats are just tough talk. A classic case of all talk and no action. Critics say he's all hat and no cattle, while Trump insists it's just the art of the deal. Turned up to 11, but on Wall Street, traders aren't losing sleep. They've learned to ride the wave, dodge the drama, and keep a taco in hand and a sell order in the other. For now, the only thing more predictable than a tariff threat is the walk back, and that's the way the market crumbles, viewers.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number.
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thanks so very much for watching. On the other side of the break, we come back with an NDTV World special show, Fault Lines, where we decode Russia-Ukraine war. Stay with us.
I bought cars on finance, so I've made my claim.
If our lenders charge hidden commissions, then I've made my claim.
I could be on thousands.
I've made my claim.
I've made my claim.
I've made my claim.
I've made my claim. It's so quick and simple.
You could be owed thousands in hidden commissions from vehicles bought on finance since 2007, even without the details.
I've made my claim.
Trust myclaimgroup.co.uk.
Claims made simple.
I think that there's something that's always there that I just need to uncover. Like, I know I'm gonna get there, but I have to be patient with myself. That's probably the scary part for me. And it's okay, like if you completely pivot and change. You know, you have to be comfortable with that.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Fault Lines on NDTV World. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. This is a show that gets you all the details and decodes the truth behind the headlines and beyond the divide. Today, far from peace, the Russia-Ukraine war has entered a dangerous new territory. We decode how far are we from peace? What does this new dangerous territory entail? Will that mean that Trump's chances of saying a 24-hour peace deal now looks even more unlikely than ever before? And with a defiant Putin, where is the world headed? Next, we are going to decode the US-Iran talks on nuclear. There have been progress, but incremental. Both sides are being defiant. What does that mean? How does that reshape the Middle East? Will that impact the traditional Shia-Sunni fault lines in the region? We decode all that for you. But first up, our top story. All right, as I said, the first story that we are now looking at, an emboldened Russia, a frustrated Washington. Europe and Ukraine left sidelined, with roadmap towards peace looking nowhere in sight. The Russia-Ukraine war seems to be back to its early stages, and viewers, that's extremely disturbing, simply because we seem to be farther and farther away from where exactly is that peace talk, peace negotiation, peace settlement really looking at. And why do we say that? Why is it that there is some sense of similarity? Well, the Russian aerial assault is back, and it's back on Kyiv and several other prominent Ukrainian cities. They have happened leading into a new phase of war, and that new phase includes Ukraine now being in a position to strike deep inside Russian territory. That means that Ukraine enters Russia. And will that mean Russia hitting back and NATO responding? No one knows, because those weapons that Ukraine is being armed with are NATO weapons. And this report tells you in greater detail exactly what all is happening that could change the way Russia-Ukraine war is going from here on. Take a look.
Amid stalled ceasefire talks, the Russia-Ukraine war has entered a dangerous new phase. As the largest aerial attack in the war took place on Sunday, a barrage of 400 drones and missiles struck capital Kyiv, 30 other cities and a dozen airports. Kremlin claimed the aerial attacks were in response to Ukraine's persistent attacks on Russian infrastructure. This has dashed all hopes for peace or any roadmap towards it. Three years into the war, Europe has shrugged off its hesitation to strike deep inside Russian territory, empowering Ukraine by lifting restrictions on weapons supplied to the country. By all means, a strike in the heart of Russia will most certainly start a chain reaction of a much bigger response from Moscow. Roughly 398 drones and 69 missiles rained down on Ukraine on Sunday, including Iranian-designed Shahed drones, killing at least 12 and injuring dozens. Putin's desire for a comprehensive military victory has alienated the Trump administration, which is both wary and frustrated, and the war of words between Washington and Moscow is the testimony to fading possibilities of a US-brokered peace formula.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin.
Действительно признательны американцам и лично президенту Трампа за содействие в организации и в запуске этого переговорного процесса. И это очень важное достижение. Конечно, одновременно с этим это очень ответственный момент, который связан, конечно, с эмоциональной перегрузкой всех абсолютно и с эмоциональными реакциями. Вот. Мы внимательно отслеживаем всю реакцию. Вместе с тем.
With Trump's playbook only having sanctions as recourse, peace prospects are getting dimmer. More so since Moscow's well-oiled war economy is now working efficiently for Kremlin's primary economic objective. This